What's up?
Long time no hear.
I know it's been weeks. Wait, you been busy? I've been busy. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, the 9 to 5 is killing me. Like, I just want to quit work and,
You gonna get
just
in your
ride
camper?
bicycles. Yeah,
You gonna,
I'm going to.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I put my furniture up on Craigslist, and so far I've just been getting spammed with, people trying to like give me a check for
Oh,
my
sure.
furniture. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I'll deliver it for you too, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know that Craigslist is that great anymore, really, for
I
like
think
selling stuff.
yeah, I think unfortunately with all the stay-at-home orders still, you might have a little trouble with that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping to like uh, dump my couch, my
Uh-huh.
chair, my bed, everything, and then so I got to be out July 31st, and then find like a truck camper. And the deal with that is like I just want to save up a bunch of money. I want to travel more. And then I want to get the hang of like, kind of being remote. And then
Yeah.
since this year is kind of jacked up with the pandemic and I'm not real
Yeah.
sure how racing's going to go, I'd really like to get get it down, like living remote. So then next year I can hit like all of the Belgian waffle races and,
Sure.
kind of live more on the road and then work towards like being remote.
Yeah.
Like I've always wanted to do that, and that's why I got into computers anyway, was
Uh-huh.
to work remote. And then I just got so busy I forgot about what my original dream was. It's to travel, work. I'm not saying I don't want to work. I just want to be, you
You want to
know,
have that freedom. Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's possible. And there's no good time to be homeless.
Right.
So
Then now.
yeah, let's just go ahead and do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So today's episode, we're going to talk about thyroid problems, Vo2, stress. And I don't know if y'all know, but Jen had thyroid cancer. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how did you
8 years
find that
ago.
one out? 8 years ago?
Yeah, I've been in remission for almost well, yeah, about 8 years. Um, I was in a photo. I noticed this nodule on my neck, and I said to my mom, "Have I always had an Adam's apple?"
Uh huh.
And she was like, "I don't think so." And I was like, "Huh. Well, I definitely do in this picture."
Yeah.
So at the time, I worked for an internal medicine practice, and I talked to one of the doctors the next morning, and she's like, "Yeah, you probably need to get some imaging on that." So I went right away and had a CT scan and a needle biopsy, and they called me that same afternoon and said it was positive.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of kicked off a year adventure of um, living with cancer and then really figuring out how to live without a thyroid.
Yeah.
So
So then when they go in and remove that, then you are hypothyroid, right? That means you
that's
don't
correct.
produce. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't remove it if you got a um, if you have like hyperthyroidism, which means an overactive one,
Yeah.
or sometimes they'll just irradiate it, but then you have to be like in a room at the hospital for 2 weeks because you're giving off so much radiation, you
Oh,
can't be
wow.
exposed to other people. So there's a whole gradient of treatment. In my case, I was really lucky. I didn't have to have chemo or radiation, and I didn't have to have it irradiated. They just took it all the way out
Mhm.
because it had a pretty large cancerous nodule.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy. And then a lot of hypo, like and hyper, a lot of times winds up going to thyroid cancer. Do you think you had hyperthyroid, or you just
I
wound up?
don't, because I didn't really have any of the other symptoms with like high heart rate and like rapid heart rate, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Bulging eyes. There's some symptoms that people have when they have hyperthyroidism, and frankly, my thyroid function was all normal. That's the craziest part. Like if you had looked at my labs, you would have never known I was sick.
Yeah.
It's literally that it just showed up in a photograph. So um, I was pretty lucky, really. But the interesting part is a lot of times people don't know they have it and can have it for years and years and years. It's a pretty slow growing type of cancer typically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's got a really good prognosis. So
Yeah, I know
yeah.
that when I was diagnosed with hypo, and then, that's when I wound up getting hypothyroid. That's around the time I kind of burn out as an athlete because I didn't have the energy. And I
Uh-huh.
thought like I just used myself up. And then I think I was like 29 or something like that. I was like, I guess this is what getting old feels like. You're worn out, you're tired. This is what everyone talks about.
Yeah.
And then my doctor did blood work, and that's around the time when I had a really good job. I had health insurance, and then she did the labs, and then found out that like I had like almost zero thyroid hormone in my body.
Uh-huh.
And thinking back to what I was doing, then I was working, trying to get my career going. I was working all night, not sleeping, and I think the stress from that
Yeah.
like destroyed my thyroid is my guess. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still on thyroid hormone, but the fact that I believe that I can handle stress better. I'm on
Mm-hmm.
a way lower dose. And like over the course of time, I've gone from 200 micrograms to 137,
Mm-hmm.
and I go to the doctor and they feel like I've always had an Adam's apple. So it's
It's
always
kind of
been there.
normal for a guy to have one
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. So I've
Yeah.
always had one. And when I go in, like she'll feel of the area, and
Yeah.
which I don't really even know where it is. It's somewhere like in your.
It's just right here in the crook of your neck and it feels kind of like a butterfly.
Oh, it's all the way down here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it was up here.
No, it's down here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you could you can't even see a scar, right? But you
I
could
can
see this
barely see it.
this divot here, which that's
Yeah.
where it would be normally. Yeah.
But see, you probably been out in your fancy new Castelli or your team clothes riding in the
Yeah.
sun, and it's probably got all suntan and you can't see
Yeah.
it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having a Garmin tan contest right now with my athletes.
Yeah. That's awesome. What kits are you guys wearing? Is it like your team kits or just their team
No,
kits or?
no. I'm a sponsored athlete with Wadi Inc. and
Oh,
a number
wow.
of my folks on my team are as well. But I pretty much let people compete in what they want to be in because everybody has different tastes. I don't
Yeah.
know. I have some folks in Wadi, and I have some folks in Baller, and I have some folks in. Um, let's see, to think about it here. Not, I don't want to think about it very hard, but it's
Yeah.
just whatever people want to wear is fine with me.
Yeah. Now I got
Yeah.
you off the subject. So that's
Yeah.
where
Great.
your thyroid is. And then,
Uh-huh.
so then like out of curiosity, like, are you taking levothyroxine,
Yep.
Synthroid?
I'm on 157 micrograms
Okay.
of levothyroxine, and it's kind of interesting because they started me out. I think it was at 125 based on your weight is kind of
Yeah.
where their guideline is, right? Well, that wasn't enough. So then they jumped me up to 175. And at first that wasn't enough. And then they pushed me up to 200. And then I came back
Oh,
down to 157. Yeah. Kind of, and it's sort of an experiment to see where you're going to be balanced because everybody produces energy at different rates. Go back to
yeah.
that discussion about metabolism. And so anyway, I've been at 157 micrograms since probably 6 months post-op, 7.5 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, I think they started me at like 120 something.
Hmm.
And then as I started back training again, and I was training like 20 hours a week, it
Yeah,
seemed like I needed more thyroid hormone.
yeah, yeah. Boy,
So,
I remember the first
yeah.
2 weeks was just brutal because I had no thyroid to produce any of the thyroid hormone TSH, and I was falling asleep at my station at work, and I couldn't keep my eyes open. It was
Yeah.
terrible. And I called this friend of mine who's a holistic doctor, and she was like, "You're just going to have to be patient." And I'm like, "I can't even go for a walk. I'm so tired. I'm wrecked at the end of the day." And she just said, "You got to give yourself some grace." And I was like, "I'm not taking that for an answer. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
No
Oh,
way.
yeah.
No way." And I'm not kidding you. I like hung up the phone and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And then the next morning I woke up and I felt like myself again. It was crazy. But it
Just
took a little bit.
after taking
No,
one,
I'd been on it for about 2 weeks, and she just told me, she said, your body has to learn how to use synthetic hormone. It doesn't know
yeah,
how to do it. So it's got to learn. And she said it can take
yeah.
people months to learn. And I was like, no, I'm not waiting months. I want to get back to life. But
It's
I
so
was
weird.
pretty
My
lucky.
dad said it took him a while to tell he was taking it, but I promise you, like that, I took mine, and then like that night, I was like tap dancing and like
Oh yeah.
just swear, I was like, woo, yeah, I was like, this is awesome
That's
because
awesome.
yeah,
You fig
but yeah, people
you
don't know like how horrible hypothyroid makes you feel, and maybe they have a low thyroid and they're like, I'm just tired. I don't feel like doing this anymore, and I don't feel like doing that anymore. It could be their thyroid being a little bit off, and it's such an important hormone that I can't believe like it's so like so many people have thyroid problems.
I know, I know. Well, like worldwide, it's one of the most common afflictions that people have, and they estimate that something like 60% of the world population will have issues with their thyroid at some point.
Do you think
And
it's our food choices? Is it
yes,
like
yes, yes, yes. And it's
yeah,
interesting because you and I've had a past conversation about
sure.
your pancreas and eliminating refined sugar and starches and wheat. Mine was celiac. That's
Uh-huh.
probably what started the breakdown of my metabolism way back. I've had celiac since I was a little bitty kid. And I was really basically a failure to thrive kid, had trouble gaining weight, grew really, really late in life because I was malnourished because I couldn't get enough good food because my gut was so unhappy trying to take
Yeah,
care of what, I was fed a normal 70s kid diet,
sure.
Cheerios and Raisin Bran and
Taco Bell.
peanut butter and jelly
Yeah.
and all those
Yep.
things, right? They didn't even know that celiac was a thing then. So that probably was a lead up into cancer for me. And then stress, of course, too. I mean, my 30s were really pretty tough on me with the divorce and some other medical issues, including losing my ACL and that whole thing. We've talked about that too. So,
Sure.
and then also having radiation for all of those imaging things that I had with the medical stuff. Probably all of it is connected into why I ended up with thyroid cancer. But I think it's a really common thing for people to not make the connection between gut health and thyroid function, or stress and thyroid function. It's all totally related.
Yeah, and I mean, thinking back, like I mean, I've always had a fairly decent diet, I think. But when I
Uh-huh.
was a kid, I ate a lot, like you just said. Like I was born in '73.
Yeah,
And 1980, it was like McDonald's, like all the
yeah,
fast food chains.
sure.
Massive amounts of tacos from Taco Bell, uh, Mountain Dew,
Yeah.
like all this stuff. And then I remember, like as a kid, like having hypoglycemia, or what
Uh-huh.
I think, like thinking back, was that, like the
Hmm.
spiky, crazy blood sugars, the mood
Yeah, for
swings,
sure.
the
Y-
all this stuff. And then people don't realize that this style diet for kids leads
mhm.
them to to be an adult with an autoimmune condition. And
Yeah.
I don't even think like people know what autoimmune is. I'm not 100% certain like what the
Uh-huh.
definition is, or like what is that? What is an autoimmune condition?
Well, autoimmunity can be, it's a kind of an umbrella for
Yeah.
basically your body's attacking itself. And there are all kinds of different types of autoimmunity. I have two of them. I had rheumatic fever as a teenager. So I have some heart damage that happened to me from that.
Uh-oh.
And then I have obviously the celiac. that turned into thyroid cancer. But, you know, there are things like rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, lupus. There are, you know, just there's a whole umbrella of things that your body does to itself when it's sick. And it
Wow.
kind of perceives self as an invader, like a virus or bacteria. Typically, that cascade event happens because you did get sick with something, but
Yeah.
your gut health is so unhealthy, and you've already got these antigens that are attacking certain body tissue, and then you get sick too. And so it's an antigenic response to you, which is pretty terrible.
Yeah, that's horrible. Like, it's so insane that like your body can like fight against itself like that and cause like arthritis,
Hmm.
thyroid, lupus, which my mom wound up having. But I'll just say this, she had the most horrible diet of any human I've ever seen. It was just insane. Like, she'd say like, oh, I'm going to get some tea, and then she'd just pour sugar in the bottom of her cup and then, you know, mix a little tea in there. And
Yeah.
then she always had like this big container of soda pop
Hmm.
and just drank like and ate more sweet stuff than anyone I'd ever seen. This lady, she was so tough to be able to have a diet like that and then live as long as she did. Because if I ate like that for a month, I think I would probably die. Like,
Yeah, me
seriously, my
too.
body couldn't
Me
handle it.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't either. I mean, I cheat every now and then, you know, like things that aren't good for me, like any wheat products. If I have bread, or sometimes I'll eat a croissant when my fiance is around because he loves those
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, it tears me up. It's not good
My
for me.
my cheat was a snooze breakfast sandwich this morning. It was like the what was it, like the bacon everything or something like that. It's got the green
Yeah,
goddess sauce on
right.
it, and then the big old piece of bread, bacon, over easy, egg, and then this hash brown that looks like the size of my truck tire. It's like, yeah,
Giant potato.
it was a 35-inch, it was a 37-inch potato cake.
Yeah, how'd
Uh,
you feel after that?
I felt like I probably could have eaten like two of them, but I did. Like, it did kind of like, and it does kind of jack me up like on the day, like not tomorrow, but like my stomach's been kind of puffy all day. And then
Yeah,
when I went on
yeah.
my ride, it was so windy. Like, I was either doing 190 watts
Uh-huh.
or 0 watts because I was going 40 miles an hour. So it's
Yeah,
like
right.
8 miles an hour or 40. So when I was
There's no
going,
in between.
yeah, yeah, so when
Not
I'm going like 8 miles an hour, I'm riding tempo, and I could feel that like the bad choices in food that I made today. It's like I
yeah.
can do just
Ugh.
one thing, but if I did that bread, like all the rice and stuff that I had for lunch was a bad
Mhm.
thing too. Like, I should have done like, you know, something a little bit different, but whatever. I did that. I ate it. It is what it is. And then I
Yeah.
struggled on my ride.
Isn't that crazy? And you
Yeah.
know, what's really interesting is like you have one thing and the next thing you know, you're craving more. And you know, they've done some research. We're talking about thyroid function here for a moment, though. I'm going to take you to gut health. Like they've
Yeah.
done research where you eat something that your body can't really figure out how to break down and use and metabolize. And so what it tells you to do is eat more of that. I need more practice. And so it sends this like cascade of events of you wanting more of the stuff that's not good for you, and it's trying to, you know, figure out how to incorporate that. And so you go off the edge basically with all these sugary or starchy foods throughout the whole day.
Oh,
Plus
wow.
you're having this ebb and flow with your insulin, right? So you're spiking and then crashing and then spiking and then crashing, and so you get into this pendulum throughout the day that looks like this. Pretty crazy.
Which is horrible too, because then comes mood swings and
Yeah,
like
right.
arguments with the boss for no reason, like
Right. Yeah.
inability to focus. And then
Mhm.
what do? The next day, go down the same rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
I know tomorrow I'm not going to eat that sandwich again, but I'm already planning Friday. I'm going to eat it. I'm gonna eat that thing again.
You can't help yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it one more chance.
I got a challenge for you. Go get a, a diabetic kit and let's check your insulin after you've
When I
had
eat
it.
that, oh
Yeah.
dude, it probably spikes so hard because I mean I never almost never eat bread, like maybe once every few weeks. I do brown rice here and there, but a lot of times it's sweet potatoes, and then I do
Yeah.
a lot of like this. It's soulful oatmeal. It's got
Uh-huh.
quinoa, and I think it's like rolled oats or steel oats, and then
Yeah.
flaxseed and chia, and then also like mix it with chia milk, and then I
Yeah.
put like uh, ginger and cinnamon and
Yeah.
like all
You,
this stuff
you
on it.
spice it up.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
and then
actually
that
pretty healthy.
ginger, yeah, the ginger actually helps your stomach too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's got some sort of like natural
It's a
stomach
natural and an
setting.
anti-inflammatory. Fortunately, I'm allergic to it.
Oh
So
wow!
I know. Yeah.
How'd you find that one out?
Well, when I was sick with cancer, um that's kind of when I transitioned back to coaching and going the nutrition route. And so um I did some food sensitivity testing, and I actually had the blood test done. So I figured out, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm allergic to ginger is a big one, bananas are another, wheat, brewer's yeast, and regular yeast are all like major offenders for me that I shouldn't have. And
So do you
that's how I discovered I had celiac, really.
does banana give you an upset stomach of some sort?
Oh yeah, like immediately.
If it's sometimes I've eaten bananas and then it kind of jacks with my stomach a little bit, but like if I put it on my oatmeal
Uh-huh.
and then with the ginger and then some cinnamon and what else? Pomegranate arrows,
Yeah.
the pomegranate
That
seeds.
that stuff helps because that what that then
Yeah,
does is it helps keep your insulin down here because that takes longer time. More complex carbohydrates take more time
yeah,
to digest. Bananas, they digest pretty fast and they're pretty high on that glycemic index in terms of spiking your insulin.
yeah. I seem to
But
do better with the oatmeal and that whole setup that I was just talking about if I put ginger in it. Like I buy fresh
mhm,
shots of ginger and then
yeah.
pour it in there, and then I put collagen protein in it too.
Yeah, well, cinnamon and ginger both are really great for anti-inflammatory stuff. So,
Yeah, and they
if
say that cinnamon helps your body keep from getting the insulin surge or whatever
mhm.
it is.
Yeah, it actually interfaces with thyroid function as well, which is a
Oh,
really
cool.
great thing. So, and the reason why is insulin is a steroid hormone. And like I think I've alluded to this before, one hormone cycle actually kind of it's like a web in your body. Like it interfaces with the other hormone cycles. Well, thyroid's a hormone cycle too, and so ours DHEA and testosterone, production of serotonin. All of those things are related. Cortisol. So when insulin's really high, typically you have to have a big cortisol punch because you got to get rid of that sugar that's in the bloodstream.
Yeah.
And so cortisol, the adrenals release cortisol to help kind of recruit the sugar out of the bloodstream so it's not toxic.
So
But
I
what
didn't know
happens
that
then is,
cortisol did that too.
oh yeah, yeah, they work together. They're kind of a tandem pair with handling blood sugar.
That's crazy. Yes.
Yes.
So then, since your gut obviously affects so many things, I mean, what kind of things do you do to kind of help, maintain a healthy gut? What do you call it? Gut microbiome or whatever?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Prebiotics, probiotics are really great to take. A lot of people believe in glutamine, L-glutamine, which
Yeah.
is an amino acid that we don't need to get in our diet because we make it ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's safe to take a tablespoon or two a day, and just kind of help with the gut health there. And it's an anti-inflammatory as well. So I'll do that if I have a really upset stomach, but I rotate foods too. Like I stay away from my really big offenders. We talked about them: wheat, brewer's yeast, those big ones for me. And I know which ones can upset my stomach, but I can sort of get away with too. And then I'll have those maybe once every 4 or 5 days. But other than that, I'm pretty strict to sticking with the foods that I know don't upset my belly.
Yeah, I know that I've done when I was working out at Lifetime all the time. I'd
Uh-huh.
go in and then I'd go into their little cafe or whatever. Then they had like all their supplements.
Sure.
And then I got like it was their gut fix.
Yeah.
And I used their system or their setup for a while, and it actually helped. It was glutamine,
Mm-hmm.
Endura lights, or
Uh,
Endura, yeah, the digestive enzymes,
digestive enzymes. Yeah.
and then a probiotic. And I did that for a while, and that really helped my stomach out. And then I got off, and then I had some days like, well, maybe I got too hungry, I was running too lean, and then I ate some
Uh-huh.
stuff that didn't agree with me, and then my stomach got flipped upside down. And then I went back and did uh the digestive enzymes, the
Yeah.
probiotic, but I'm not adding the glutamine back in, which I should. And I know that glutamine, it actually really does help your stomach.
Yeah, it does.
I
It
feel like it
does.
did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you know what? It's interesting because it does help with muscle soreness too. So
Yeah.
it's a great little additive for recovery. Not only does it make your gut feel better, but it makes your body feel better. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's safe to take. I think you can take 2 to 3 tablespoons a day is the
Yeah.
normal
It
dose.
does really help. Like I did like the loader dose that it said to do. And
Uh-huh.
like it really did help out. So
Yeah.
we're talking about cortisol. So if cortisol
Uh-huh.
actually does some good things,
Sure.
why does stress activate cortisol, and why does too much cortisol affect your thyroid, or why would it cause like autoimmune conditions?
Well, your adrenals
So
are um, this this little organ that sits kind of on top of your kidneys, and we were prey once too, right?
yeah,
Big beasts that used to hunt us, um, and it's kind of a survival mechanism. So if you're under a great deal of stress, the adrenals dump a bunch of cortisol into the bloodstream, which causes a rapid heart rate and increased blood pressure, moving of blood sugar and insulin, so that you can move really fast all of a sudden.
yeah,
Like, let's say a tiger jumped down out of a tree behind you, and that burst of
cortisol.
energy that you get comes from cortisol. We used to call it adrenaline.
Yeah,
It's
that's also
basically
what
this.
wakes you up in the morning too.
That's correct. Yeah. So, people that go into adrenal fatigue have trouble making cortisol, but they've gotten there because they um, had an overabundance of it, like
Yeah,
constant, like it's almost like pushing the button, like, psh, I need some stress help here. So then, they get this cortisol release. So what happens then is we have a secondary steroid hormone that the brain releases at the same time to turn on fat storage. Okay, they happen kind of consecutively, but in tandem. So cortisol gets punched into the bloodstream, and this other hormone turns on. And so you can't burn and make energy from fat. You can only use sugar. So then people start getting this buildup layer of fat, typically around the belly. We
yeah.
call it the donut, right? The
Oh
cortisol
yeah, I've
donut.
seen it. Like and like being an old dude, like I'm
Yeah.
real, like I want to like not have that. Like I take pride in being, I just call it lean and mean.
Uh-huh. Right.
Because
Right.
but like the older you get, the harder you got to work at it, and you got to pay attention to a lot of the stuff that you're talking about as well.
Yeah, because when we're young, our bodies forgive us a lot more,
Hmm.
but as we age, they're less forgiving, right? And you don't want that love handle that goes all the way around.
No, no, no. We don't want that.
Yeah, and what's interesting is cortisol is usually kind of the smoking gun with the breakdown of the other hormones. So when
Yeah.
cortisol is high, testosterone is low. And when you don't have enough testosterone, then you have trouble making muscle. And then you store fat. For men, it's we call it the moobs, right?
Yeah.
Stored up
Yeah.
here,
Yep.
right?
Yep. You
And
get thick up here and
uh-huh,
back
uh-huh.
fat. Yeah. All
And then
that.
some back fat, right? And then what happens from there is that thyroid down regulates because you're not using as much energy because you're not
Yeah.
feeling good. And so then your thyroid function sort of takes a nosedive. So it's all connected.
So then if you got all that business going on, which it happens for sure, like, and
Uh-huh.
it's hard to get right, and it's taken me years and years and years to, figure out how I can stay lean.
Yeah.
So would an indicator of an hormonal imbalance, like maybe testosterone, maybe definitely thyroid, be could like a fat stomach be an indicator of
Yeah.
hormonal
Yeah.
disorders?
Yeah, for sure. That, and there are some other signals too. Um, People that have cortisol issues, that being the leading one,
Uh,
typically will experience kind of a lull in the day where they feel like they've got their energy zapped. There are certain times a day that are uh, healthier times to choose for exercise. Like
yeah.
if you have a really stressful time of day because your body learns patterns, and if you're, let's say, every day you're used to meeting a deadline at 10 a.m. and over time your body's going to produce cortisol at 10 a.m. Well, it's probably not a great idea to go out and exercise at 10 a.m. because you're reinforcing that stress.
Oh,
So
wow.
you want to figure out when the right time is to exercise based on your own circadian rhythm and your own cortisol release.
So you think it's better to go into exercise with less cortisol in your system?
I
Or
think it's
does or
uh,
does
yeah, yes. The answer is yes, but you want to do it in such a way that it's going to balance the way your circadian rhythm is supposed to work. Because you're right, you need cortisol to kind of wake up in the morning.
Mhm.
And if you're not, like, I would say it would be an interesting test to do. Line up 100 people and ask them, are you a morning person or are you a kind of a night owl? And then have them do a cortisol spit test. I think my guess would be people that are morning people have a good production of cortisol in the morning, and people who are night owls produce more cortisol at night, the wrong time of day.
But why do you think that they made that shift throughout their life and just kept running with it, and then put themselves into situations that kind
Yes,
of
it
met
could
their
be.
cortisol levels?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to figure out which is
Yeah.
the chicken and which is the egg, right? But yes, yeah, the habits that we create over our lifetime can either hinder us or help us.
Yeah, it's like I got buddies that, a lot of times they stay up late at night, and then they sleep kind of late, and then we did that as kids because we are skateboarders and we're
Sure.
crazy and we're like staying up all night. And then we were kind of in that like pattern. And then once I got into cycling and training, I started sleeping more. And then now it's like their sleeping patterns are still a lot like when we were kids, like kind of partying.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of my
Yeah.
buddies, they didn't get into like athletics or endurance sports or become athletes over time. They kind of just stayed about
Mm-hmm.
the same. And then I noticed a lot of them are better at night. And
Yeah.
then they'll kind of jack with me because it's like, 7 o'clock and I'm ready to put my pajamas on and start like winding down.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
so then I've often wondered, I'm like, why do I not want to go do stuff at night? It's not like I don't mind it from time to time, but if I do go for a late dinner, or if I do go out at night, and even if I look at a beer, I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
sleep.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, because you've kind of created this, your body's learned that pattern. So
Yeah.
when you jump out of that pattern and you disrupt it, then you've probably punched the cortisol button in a
Yes.
place that it's not used to, right? And then you can't go to sleep
Throws me out of
because your
whack.
your brain is just buzzing, right?
Yeah. And then
So
everyone's like, oh, it's just because you're old. And I'm like, yeah, well, I am definitely old,
sure.
but sleep is actually a good thing. And then if I
Yeah,
do X, I'm not going to sleep. You know,
right.
if I eat this hamburger at 10 o'clock at night, I'm not going to sleep.
I'm the
If
same
I,
way, Chris.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can't do it. I'd rather have dinner done at 6 at the
Hmm.
latest.
Yeah. Yeah. But, it's interesting because some people, it isn't optimal for them to exercise first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I have a client that I trained for 6 years that had low testosterone and
Mhm.
really was in adrenal fatigue, really like ridiculously high cortisol in the middle of the afternoon, which was absolutely the wrong time for him to work out. He was supposed to work out, according to a spit test, somewhere between 9 and 11 a.m. That was the optimal time for him,
Yeah.
that wouldn't create the wrong kind of stress. And he really struggles with his weight, and
Yeah.
consequently ended up having atrial fib.
Oh no.
And he's always going to be at risk at this point for having a stroke. So it's a constant battle, and poor guy has to have testosterone injections and whatnot because the cortisol literally took everything offline. So he's being
So
treated with for hypo.
the
Hmm.
cortisol would give him AFib.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Because
That's why stress, when people get stressed out, they have heart attacks, I guess, right?
yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Man.
it's pretty. It's hard to relate all of those things, but they really are. They're so interrelated. How we work as a machine.
Yeah, we stress ourselves to death.
Hmm.
Pretty
Yeah, and then we
much.
make ourselves sick. I mean, think about, like, there's tons of research out there that shows workers that work a night shift have a much higher cancer incidence. It's because they're throwing off their circadian rhythm. They're getting a cortisol release at the wrong time of day.
Yeah, and then with the adrenals, like, what's the best way to keep check on the adrenals? Is it the spit test like you're talking about, or like, do you
Yeah, if
ever
you
do you ever like tell people about, what do you think about ashwagandha? Like, not to throw like a supplement on you, but
no, no, no. I think that there's a lot of natural remedies that help manage stress. Valerian root's a really good one.
uh-huh.
Um, yeah, honestly, those Eastern types of medicine, they work as
I've
long as you're not
taken
not
I've
going
taken
overboard.
ashwagandha before
Yeah.
for a period of time when I thought that I was super stressed out.
Uh-huh.
And it took like maybe like whatever, like 2 bottles,
Uh-huh.
and then just stopped taking it.
Yeah. I mean, melatonin works for some people.
I
Others, it
like
just doesn't work it
melatonin.
out.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to figure out when you're having the cortisol surge. So I am a big proponent of getting a spit test if stress is one of your things. Like if you got the smoking gun, right? You've got weird stored fat, and you're having a time period during your day when you feel like you should be productive and you're really struggling with production, you probably want to do a spit test. And the nice thing about the spit test is it's a 4-time thing. And so they can tell by your saliva how much cortisol you're putting out at different times of day.
Yeah. So what what role would the adrenal glands have to do with thyroid? Are they connected at all? Or
Well, they're somewhat connected. They're connected in how to manage metabolism over the
Mhm.
long term, right?
So the adrenal
It,
helps control metabolism? Like, I mean, I've always heard the adrenal gland. I had no idea where it was. I thought the adrenal gland was like in like in your
no,
head, in your like somewhere located in your brain.
the adrenal is about the size of a walnut, and
Yeah.
it sits right by your kidneys, like right
Yeah.
on top, and you have one on either side. Um, it manages it upregulates your metabolism in a time of immediate need. That's its job. So thyroid function maintains metabolism all day.
Yeah.
But if you're getting an adrenal punch 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day, then your thyroid starts to go up, and then it has to come down, and then it goes up, and then it comes down. So it can't be here anymore. Does
So
that?
what about for us, like since we're on a standard, like a dose,
Uh-huh.
our thyroid can't regulate. Does our body like take what's in there and then just do what it has to do to like manage the situation, or like,
Well, have you ever had a day where you just can't sleep
yeah,
and you can't really put your finger on it?
yep,
Were you super stressed that day?
yeah. So then that's for us, like having the thyroid issues, that's probably a sign that our body couldn't handle what we were going through because we're on a fixed dose of thyroid and we're not getting
Yeah.
a extra boost from the body to help manage
Yeah.
the
So
situation.
that's like a
Yeah.
hyperthyroid situation, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then usually on the flip side, when we're coming down off of that hyperthyroidism, you and I feel that hypothyroidism again,
Yeah.
like for 2 or 3 days usually is my
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
So we're talking about stress and cortisol. So obviously training
Mhm.
is a stressor
Yeah.
and can cause cortisol. And then with all that thrown in the mix, I think we did kind of brush up on this a little bit. So excessive training loads can require you to have more thyroid hormone to control the cortisol levels and to help you recover,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah. So too much stress causes more a higher cortisol release, right? And then
Yeah.
the thyroid would have to then regulate how much energy you've got to produce. So that's why, if you're exercising a whole bunch, you probably need a bigger dose. But if you're not a person that exercises a lot, you probably require a smaller dose.
I think maybe I found the sweet spot in training for me and hypothyroid this time around
Mhm.
because I'm on a lower dose and I'm on a consistent lower dose. And it's
Yeah.
like 12, max of like maybe like a 14-hour week here and
Mhm.
there. But it's pretty much consistently 9 to 12.
Yeah.
But
What's
when I was
interesting is
going at 18s,
uh-huh.
like I go to the doctor and then they'd be like, oh, yeah, you're stressed out and this and that. And, you know,
Well, you can
just,
tell
yeah,
because your heart rate's going to run not at
high
its, yeah, exactly,
because
or
it's
your
trying to
blood
repair.
pressure.
Yep.
Yeah, those parasympathetic things we talked about that in a previous podcast, right? Talking about parasympathetic versus sympathetic systems and HRV.
Oh, yeah.
And so running a high heart rate tells you that your body's trying to recover. That's probably where you had too much cortisol released the day before. Okay.
Yeah.
Low heart rate means that you're nicely recovered, usually.
Yeah. Lately, I mean, my heart rate's running like way lower than I would have thought, which actually I feel more relaxed. I've been sleeping a lot better,
Uh-huh.
but I've also noticed again, I've talked about before, like putting out more power at a lower heart rate. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, my resting heart rate's lower. Like today I did my ride, it's a rest week. So I went and did it was like an hour and a half and my heart rate was like 120. But I still
Yeah.
felt like
Oh.
I was able to put some power out
Uh-huh.
and I was just chilling and it was obviously pretty freaking windy,
Yeah.
but it
Right.
didn't it didn't it didn't affect me at all. My heart rate didn't get crazy. Like my body handled it well, like outside of like, a Dodge Sprinter van almost getting blown into me.
Oh my God. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, the body would not have handled that very well. But
I rode 105 2 weeks ago, I guess, and it was a day like today, but it was more like 50-mile-per-hour sustained.
oh man,
And so going towards Palmer Lake, I was averaging 8 miles per hour.
going up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
towards Palmer Lake, right? then we turned around and came home, and I was averaging really with only maybe about 50% of my FTP,
Uh-huh.
32 miles per hour.
Oh, I've come down from Palmer with a buddy, like, and he's pretty fast, you know.
Yeah.
Have a low average on the way up,
Yeah.
and then on the way back, average like 24, 25 miles an hour, like all the way down.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's
That's
just
so
funny.
much fun.
It's just so funny how the wind can really affect you in
Yeah,
Colorado.
and it's
Today
such
was
a
day.
it's a, and the yesterday too, and it's such a weird wind. It's not like it seems to be coming from all different directions. It's not
Oh,
like
yeah,
just a
totally like
headwind.
swirling, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I almost wrecked a couple of times, but uh,
Wow.
do you think
Yeah.
like once we get hypothyroid under wraps, under control, we can recover effectively from our workouts, or do you think we're always gonna struggle a little bit in the
Um,
recovery?
I think that's a case by case situation. I think
Because we
some
are
people.
gonna have elevated cortisol, and then sometimes you're gonna go
Mhm.
a little bit too high. And I've learned the hard way to not mess around with thyroid hormone
Yeah,
because I
right.
thought like, okay, well, I told my doctor, I'm like, you know what? I'll handle it. Give me these 2 doses. Hell no.
No, your
No.
body needs the same thing every day.
Yeah, I was a basket case.
Yeah,
I was a
you got
nightmare. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it's like asking your body to run on, or an engine to run on 2 liters of oil when it really needs 5.
Yeah. And then I thought like, okay, well, this is going to be a big month. So I'll take a higher dose of thyroid. And then when I start to scale back training, I'll take the
Yeah.
lower dose. And then there's such a weird latency with the
Mhm.
doses that you get confused if you're high or low.
Yeah,
You
right.
can't like, you lose like, all right, well, this is hyper feeling because of, this is, I feel this, or it's hypo because I feel that.
Yeah,
Then at some
yeah.
point you can't figure it out. And then you go, oh, well, it must be low. And then you take more, like the higher dose.
Sure.
And I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
throwing in the towel. I feel horrible. Let's go talk to the doctor. And they're like, your thyroid is 2 times too high.
yeah,
Like,
right.
I can't remember the number, but she
Eek.
was like, do not take any tomorrow and then
Yeah,
start on this lower dose.
yeah,
So
yeah.
then
Well,
that was like 90 days ago. So that was like 3 bottles of
uh-huh.
levothyroxine ago. And then I've just now like really started to like get right.
Feel normal.
And then I
Yeah.
swear to you, like if I have like any doubt of like thyroid's high or low,
Uh-huh.
doctor immediately, blood work.
Yeah.
And then they got back to me within like the next, like at the end of the night, they called me because that's how
Yeah.
far off my thyroid was. They're like, yo, don't take any
Don't
more.
take any more. Yeah, because you can
Yeah.
put yourself in cardiac arrest.
Oh yeah,
Pretty
it's like a
dangerous.
thyroid storm.
Yeah.
And then you get
It
like AFib or whatever. It's yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. For me, like, I can tell you that I don't sleep very well on my recovery weeks because I'm used to training about 12 to 15 hours a week during
Me too.
my periodization. And then I'll every fourth week do a recovery week that's somewhere between 6 and 8 hours. And I do struggle a little bit with sleep those weeks because I have more energy. So I've learned to just stay up an extra hour or two, but to try to get up every morning at the same time so that it helps kind of regulate my sleep cycle.
That's so weird. That sounds a lot like what I've been doing because before I was consistently doing like 12 out, at least 12 hours, probably somewhere around 12 to 14, a lot like you were just saying.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping like a baby. And then, I was trying to peak for a race March the 18th. That didn't
Uh-huh.
happen. So
Right.
I've kind of just taken a step back a little bit and just kind of been riding more and doing like more bass,
Uh-huh.
sweet spot, tempo kind of stuff
Yeah.
since the end of March. And since I'm not riding as hard, I still feel good when I go ride. I'm still putting out like the same numbers that I'm stoked about, but like I don't sleep as good because I don't feel like I'm exerting
Yeah,
myself at the level that I'm used to. And it could be that we're not burning off all that thyroid hormone that's in our
yeah,
body, maybe.
yeah. I had to take 2 weeks off from running this last, month because I kind of just cropped up with some plantar fasciitis, and,
Uh-oh.
I put on about 3 pounds, and so I've had to cut back a little bit on what I'm eating, yes, but also having to be realistic about the activity level, and I've been sleeping a lot less too. Like I usually am good for a good 8 to 8.5 hours, and lately I feel like I'm keeping a better sleep schedule if I'm getting about 6.5 to 7 hours.
That sounds so
Um,
weird because that's exactly, I slept about 6 to 6.5 last night, 6 to 6.5, but I'm sleeping deep
yeah,
with that
yeah,
6 to 6.5 and it's working. But I definitely want to do like 8 to 8.5. But now I'm in this habit of staying up later, a lot like you were saying. And,
uh-huh.
I got my blue blocker glasses to, help safeguard my melatonin production. Uh, so I'm doing all I can do and I'm sitting up watching, TV until I get sleepy. And lately I've been going to bed at like midnight and then getting up at 7.
Yeah, yeah. See, I've been going to bed around 10, getting up at 5 typically. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that's different with this pandemic is not working out in the mornings. I've been doing it kind of midday as part of my lunch hour. And that's interesting because I think that's affected some of my metabolism also. So, that's part of figuring out how to make your thyroid function at its optimal level. Like, schedule, job, that stuff has to happen, right? But then figuring out how to layer in exercise where it really should belong in the day, and then eating right so that really we can be these optimal machines.
See, and I think I stumbled on to morning workouts being my thing
Uh-huh.
because I progressed so much and I had consistently better workouts right after I get up out of bed, maybe drink a cup of coffee. I don't really do anything. And then I just ride. And then all of my workouts forever for like 6 or 7 months straight were just spot on. Didn't
Yeah.
miss a workout. I was a machine. And then now I want to be outside. So I'm
Mhm.
riding after work and I feel like my workouts aren't as good at the end of
Yeah.
the day, but I really need to be out for me, like I need to be outside.
Right. Well,
But
in
my
vitamin
workouts aren't as good.
and you touched on it, vitamin D is one of those things that you got to have to interface with your thyroid function.
Yep.
It is part of the construction of your steroid hormones. You need it for serotonin, you need it for thyroid function. You got to have it. So it's like, yeah, I get why you would want to shift like that. Problem is it good for your sleep cycle and your stress? So you have to kind of measure, you know, the nice thing is in Colorado we can get vitamin D pretty much from the moment the sun comes up to the moment the sun goes down because of the
See, I
angle.
could wake up and
Yeah.
go, like now it's getting warmer. I
Yeah.
could just ride outside, especially with the pandemic deal, and I'm
Yeah.
still like work from home. And
Be
then that
interesting to
frees
have
my
you try
nights up.
it. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to have you try it and then talk about it again. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, are these better quality workouts than I was doing in the afternoon? Be interesting.
I think I'll do it. Like me and my brother, my oldest brother, Jeffrey,
Yeah,
we're talking about how bad the traffic's getting out here. And then
yeah,
now that everyone's kind of going back to work a little bit, the traffic is hectic. And
uh-huh,
I was on Ridgegate, like heading down your way towards Parker, and there was like 3 semi trucks back to back. And then part of Ridgegate now doesn't have a bike lane, and it
yeah,
kind of goes around a corner. And then I
mhm,
look, and then I see those trucks coming. I'm like, oh god.
yeah.
So I
That's a
kind of bunny
stretch of
hopped.
road I don't do anymore.
I'm not doing it anymore. I told Jeffrey
Yeah,
uh yesterday, I'm like, dude, like that this stretch of road that I've ridden since I've been here, like I'm gonna have to cut it out of my route. And then now I'll leave and then I'll go out past Cabela's and then take a right on the frontage road and then go under the tunnel and go
Yeah.
up to Surrey Ridge,
Yeah.
Castle
That's probably
Pines,
safer.
yeah,
Hmm.
and then Daniels Park, and then
Yeah.
back down Castle Pines, and then pick up that new Canyons
Right. That
neighborhood.
that loop. Yep. I got
Yep.
an athlete that's moving into that neighborhood, and he loved hearing you talking about it on the
Oh
last
yeah,
podcast. Yeah.
yeah. The last time I went there, because I needed like a couple extra minutes, I went down and I took a right. Like if I'm coming back from Daniels Park, uh, back towards the canyons,
Uh-huh.
like I take the second turn, and then I do like all right hand turns,
Uh-huh. It's just a
and then
loop, right?
yeah, and then I'll loop that twice, and then that first half you can really lay it down for a few minutes, and then the second half is downhill, and then you can hang that right and then get back on that road that goes to Hess,
Mm-hmm.
and then take a right back into the canyons again and just loop that, and then that'll add like 10 to 15 minutes, and then I beeline back down the frontage road to my apartment. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
actually a pretty good loop because it's got a good 2 to 3 minute climb, and then you can keep your power up
Well, I
for
challenge you to
most
do
of
it in
it.
the morning.
I'm gonna give it a shot. Like,
Seriously.
yeah, I think next week I start doing intervals again. Like,
Uh-huh.
um, well, I know next Thursday I'm supposed to start doing like some zone 4, no,
Yeah.
super threshold stuff, and I can't do my intervals good outside lately because of traffic. So I want to get in at least 1 to 2 days a week in the morning and see how it goes.
Yeah. Mornings haven't been so bad because I don't think people, still not a huge crunch for people getting to work at 6 a.m. And the sun is up by then. So
And it's like 60 degrees already.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So you should try it. Let's chat about it again. Like
Yeah,
how did it go? Are you sleeping better? You
I
get more
think
quality workouts, that sort of thing.
I feel like it's better for me to relax in the evening, because
Uh-huh.
if I go, like I did get into a little bit of a deficit calorically because I was going out hitting these 1400 calorie rides and then coming in and being like, oh man, it's like 8:30 at night and I
Yeah.
didn't really want to eat, and then I just eat a little bit and then try to make up for it the next day. I think we probably talked about it a little bit, and then I was saying
Yeah.
like I go ride 1400, go burn 1400 calories, and I barely even have to eat. Well, guess what? I turned out like having to eat. I have to eat.
Yeah,
It's a
like
good
the next
idea.
day you suffer for it if you
Yeah,
don't eat a good dinner, but then if you don't sleep, you suffer for it. So
yeah.
it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Yeah.
Worst recovery ever has been burning 1400 calories on a Tuesday and then taking in 400.
Yeah. Yeah,
Next
didn't you have
day,
like a bunch of
struggle bus.
hamburger?
Yeah, I was making hamburgers, and then the hamburgers actually work pretty good. Like if I eat two of them, because I think that'd probably be like 700 to 800 calories.
Yeah.
Because you get like I'd get like a good pretzel bun, or like I would think it's a pretty decent
Uh-huh.
piece of bread with that meat, and that would put me to sleep pretty good, and then I would recover pretty good. But on the days where I would try to eat light,
Yeah.
like I was 2 to 3 days out from my next good ride, just
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah.
taking me that long to recover because I went so far in the hole. And I
Mhm.
was like, I got so like, I think I got down like, I don't even need to lose any weight. And I was losing weight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, nutrition is critical for managing those hormones too.
Yeah. And then
It's
everything gets out of whack because it doesn't matter
uh-huh.
if you're taking the thyroid hormone, it's your testosterone's not going to work right. All
That's
this
right.
because it needs. And then I
Mhm.
kind of started seeing like how much people would say, well, calories don't really matter. I found out that calories kind of
They
do
matter.
matter
They
for me
matter.
personally.
Yeah, they matter. They matter. I mean, you don't want to have 1,200 calories of McDonald's Big Macs,
No.
that quality though, quality, but getting in your calories really matter if you want to
Yeah.
have quality workouts.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
struggled there for a couple of weeks, and then I finally got back right, and started recovering and started getting the hang of training at night again. What and
Hmm.
kind of what I started doing is I started packing on more food during the day,
Yeah.
and then maybe trying to eat a little bit, not trying to like eat 1,000 calories at night.
Yeah. So a little bit of intermittent fasting.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
take in enough to like, you know, hopefully recover. But it's so weird. Like when you get used to training in the morning, you don't really stress about getting your calories in throughout the day
No,
because you're
because
gonna,
you're going to be hungry, so you're going to just kind of naturally
yeah,
graze, right? Yeah.
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 So
Yeah, we really are, like, as a species, much better off if we can get ourselves there to be able to do our highest production in the morning, and then kind of
I'm a
just,
better person too. I'm so much nicer when I work out in the morning.
yeah.
Like I think it
Yeah.
just mellows me out, and like I'm just like, oh yeah, dude, I'll do it. Sure thing, boss. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got
I
it,
heard
bud.
this I heard this really interesting podcast, oh gosh, maybe 5 years ago, where this guy compared humans to different types of animals. I think it was like a dolphin, a lion, a bear, and I mean, I can't remember them all. I just remember a couple because I was like, that's pretty intelligent, um, way to get people to think about their nutrition. But I'm a lion because lions want to go out and hunt their food in the morning, and they're most active in the morning, and then they just kind of, like, as the afternoon goes on, just
They
lay
chill.
around, just chill out. Yeah, that
I feel like I'm better that way.
I feel like I'm better that way, and I think I would say that all the people that I've coached, my best producers, they may not be the fastest athletes, but they're the most consistent. The ones that work out in the morning.
I tell you this, like I believe it was a game changer for me because I'm lighter than I've ever been and I'm producing more power than I've ever been. The only things different that I'm doing is I consistently trained in the morning
Yeah.
and
Well,
and
you're
I had,
watching what you eat too. You've been
yeah,
really intelligent. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that too. And
It's a
then
big difference.
also the big thing I've noticed too is like again, like I went out for an easy ride and me and my brothers are always talking about VO2 max.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
We're always arguing about VO2 max. And then Jeffrey says, he's like, that that doesn't mean anything to me because you can't like physically change your VO2 max. I'm like, I think
Mm,
there's a relative one that's kind of about like that's related to body weight, and then there's another one that's measured in a different way. Is
okay. Well, you're on the right track. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're gifted with a big set of lungs, you're going to have naturally a big VO2. If you're gifted with a small set of lungs, you're naturally going to have a low VO2, because VO2 is just the volume of oxygen that your lungs can absorb, right? So, the bigger your set of lungs, the bigger your VO2. However, you can make it, like, you can get more efficient at gas exchange, and so you can grow your VO2 to a certain degree. I was kind of cracking up when I was watching you guys discuss that on your
yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
and how he was like, well, sometimes I get a +4 or a -2, or he's like, I don't understand that. Well, I'll tell you what, he's making compare it's like comparing apples to oranges.
yeah,
The only way you can really measure VO2 in an accurate way and pay attention to that Garmin device is to do the same freaking route
all the
on the
time.
same day with the same stimulus and the same diet. Because, listen, all the stressors, everything, how much water we've had, how much sleep we've had, if our kid was being a punk 20 minutes before we left for a workout, if
Yeah,
somebody ran a stop sign, if your wife was being a jerk, any of those things can affect your VO2, because it's a measurement of how quickly your heart is working, right? And that volume of oxygen. So if you're stressed out and you're running a little high on that heart rate, then your
Getting it
VO2
a
is going to show
lower.
low. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
So
so it's not a good metric to really pay a whole lot of attention to. I mean, he's arriving at the right conclusion, which is I'm not going to pay a whole lot of attention to that because it seems so arbitrary.
he did say that, and I was just like, yeah, I was like jacking with him. I'm like, yeah, like VO2 means something to everyone but you because you're that edge case, you're that special athlete
Right.
that VO2 doesn't relate to. And then we just had this constant like
Yeah,
argument
yeah,
about it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think like because again, we thought it was speed, and then we thought it was average power, and then we thought like I've had speeds all over the board with the winds lately. I've
sure.
had low average power, and
Mhm.
so yesterday I did 4x8 sweet spot
Mhm.
and came back with the Garmin saying 68.
Mhm.
I went and rode easy, low average heart rate, 14.9 miles per hour because of the wind,
Uh-huh.
68 VO2.
Well, yeah, so, it's just kind of interesting
It's, I
because it's
think
your
stress is
response
it.
to stress. It is. It's absolutely your response to stress. And
I
those
think the
stressors,
VO2,
it's like 10 things on the list of stressors, right?
yeah,
Altitude, wind, and Garmin can't take those things into context. Only thing it sees is how many watts you're producing, how hard your heart is working,
yeah,
and the time increment. That's all it can see.
yeah. I do know that that is all it can see, but I also thought like, oh, if I go out and average a buttload of power for however long,
Uh-huh.
it's going to give me a higher VO2 max. But
Well, if your
I've
heart
done
rate was running low,
it. Yeah. So
mhm,
when my heart rate starts to drop,
uh-huh.
so I mean, it's pretty rare that I go out and ride at 120 BPM.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, I only did like 140 watts or something like that for like an hour and 20 minutes, and it
Uh-huh.
still said 68.
Right.
Yesterday I did 4x8 sweet spot, which my heart rate was 149 to like 152, something like that, which my sweet spot should be in the 160s.
Uh-huh.
I think I was doing like 205 to 210 for eights at like
Okay.
149 average heart rate, and then it
Yeah.
gave me a 68.
Yeah.
So then I
It
just added like shits and giggles. I was like, I'm gonna guess this VO2 number when I get off of today's ride. I would have guessed it at 60 just because I went easy. 68 again. Like I can't figure it out. So I do think it has something to do with your body. It's something to do with something like HRV. It has a
it's
measurement, a stress component to it somehow or another to figure out like
it's a
what you're.
percentage. How hard is your heart working and how much power output are you able to give? It's
Yeah,
a percentage. So if on a given day you're stressed and your heart rate's higher, but you're still putting out kind of your average power, it's going to give you a low score.
that's exactly
Conversely,
it.
if you're not working, if you know you're not that stressed and your heart rate's down here and you're able to put out that same power, you're going to get a higher score. Does that make sense?
I've had a
Yeah.
more consistent higher VO2 max over the past 2 to 3 weeks because I also kind of came off of a span of, I would call it downtime, but I wasn't
Yeah.
doing like hardcore intervals.
Right.
And I
Kind of a
would have,
recovery period. Uh-huh.
yeah, because I would have expected to drop. And then all I heard from my brothers is because it said 68 or something. When I started getting in the 60s, they're like, man, you're on one, you're on a big peak right now. But it's like March the 18th is when I was around the time I would have peaked, and my VO2 max is still the same. But when I first started training with power, like over the holiday, like December, it
Hmm.
was 53.
Okay.
So it's gone from 53 to 68. But I have a
Yeah.
sneaking suspicion that I didn't have the muscular endurance and power to push my system hard enough to get like a good VO2. And then now that I've been doing all the sweet spot and all the
Hmm.
zone
Yeah,
4 and like 30 minutes of VO2 and
yeah, you've been just strengthening that heart muscle so that it can push the blood. The blood is what does the oxygen and carbon
yeah.
dioxide exchange, right? So if your heart is more efficient, being able to push those red blood cells a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently, then you're going to exchange more oxygen for carbon dioxide, and that's going to make your VO2 go up.
So then to a certain extent, my brother is right about it not meaning that much.
Yeah, to a certain extent, because
Yeah.
stress is definitely a component to how efficient you are that day. And stress can mean all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Everything from dehydration to good nutrition to poor sleep to somebody pissing you off, high
Yeah.
blood pressure, low blood pressure, blah blah blah. Yeah.
I'll show you. And then what, like I had a bad time at work
Yeah.
and,
Did you have a crummy training day because of it?
yeah, let me see if I can find, let's see if we can see this. And I was like, oh, none of that matters. And then I started looking at it. I was like, you know what, man? Maybe stress does
For
have something
sure.
to do with it. And then it's like I had a bad day, a little run in on one of my one-on-ones. And then like, anyway, it was a stressful situation at work.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Look at that. Okay, 68.
You see that
Oh, but
big dip?
yeah, it looks like a check mark. Green
Yeah,
check mark right there.
that's the
That's the
stressful
bad day,
day.
huh?
So then
Yeah.
I started looking into it and thinking a little bit differently because I forgot about that day. And I was like, so what was going on, man? I'm like, oh crap, like I was
Yeah.
stressed out. So maybe stress has more to do with that than speed and average power and all
It,
of it. And then I started wondering, I'm like, I wonder if they're like running some sort of, if it has like an HRV component
yeah. Yeah.
to
Well,
it
let me
to
show you
help figure it
this.
out.
You ever keep track of this one? Let's see here. Can you see that?
What is that?
So that's my average heart rates. Okay. I came off a
Uh-huh.
hard training weekend. I'll put that up there one
Dude,
more time.
it dropped way down, huh?
You see that? So then I was in
Saturday.
recovery. So look, Monday, Tuesday, and then today I spiked way up, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I got a VO2 update that went higher, went up 4 points. Today I lost 2 points.
Wow.
But you just saw the heart rate, the resting heart rate. It's
Yeah.
really high today. So I'm in parasympathetic.
Yeah.
It's that HRV thing.
Yeah. And so I kind of think like that has something to do with this Garmin VO2 in some kind of way because I thought average power.
Yep. Yeah,
As
it
long as you got a
absolutely
high
does.
average power, you're good, but it's your heart rate at that power
That's
that
right.
decides. So
That's right.
then if you're going on a mountain bike ride and it's a spiky, punchy kind of
Uh-huh.
ride, you're probably going to have a lower VO2 max reading if you have power because you're going to have a spiky, higher heart rate and
Yeah.
a lower average power. So then,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah,
See, and Garmin can't take into context all of that vertical,
yeah,
but your heart rate does. And so it gives you a lower score. So that's where it becomes arbitrary.
yeah. And then for the life of me, I've tried to figure this out because just messing with my brother and he's like, it doesn't matter. You can't change your VO2 max. And I'm like, this, I was like, we're talking about Garmin. We're not talking about wearing a face mask and puking into a tube,
Right.
to get your, I was like, Garmin, we're talking about the Garmin numbers. This number changed. And I think it's saying for you to move at this speed at your age, you would have to have a VO2 max of 53.
Yeah.
So
Right.
But
So when you get
if he
in,
had been 61, he should fairly consistently see 61 unless he's overly stressed.
yeah. So either his workouts are overly stressing him. I just showed you how the
Yeah.
periodization of mine have
Yeah.
pushed me into parasympathetic, right? So
Yeah.
I need to recover
You did
tomorrow.
too much.
Yeah, yeah, I pushed myself to that edge
Yeah.
tomorrow. I need to recover, right? Yeah. So if he's not doing that enough, he's going to see all these plus minuses, like it's going to be constantly shh, right?
Yeah.
Good training. You should just kind of steadily go up until you hit your peak.
Yeah. He's pretty, I mean, he's steady. He stays around, like I think like 53 to 56. So he does stay right there. And really, he's 51.
Uh-huh.
It's still good.
Yeah. Oh, it's a
It's,
great score. It's
yeah.
a great score. I was cracking up because you guys are just overthinking it.
I did not. It's because we've actually kind of started to like take a step back and kind of like let it ride a little bit. I'm like, all right, well, maybe you're right. And then now I'm like thinking, I'm like, well, the last 2 days are like completely go against like what I thought, low power, low. And then you hit the nail on the head. It's your heart rate at the power.
Yep. Yeah. Or if you're running pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what it is. The heart rate at the power output.
Yeah. And then we've just kind of like backed off of each other. I think we kind of ramped up and we were both so like hell bent on getting to this race in Texas. We're like, like
Oh
just
yeah.
all, it's like I didn't really want to beat him and he didn't really want to beat me, but we just
Uh-huh.
wanted to go. We just wanted
Um
to go. We just wanted to go race and I wanted to do good. And I felt like I was going to do better than ever. And, ultimately at the end of the day, we just all wanted to go hang out as a family,
I know. I
race
totally
mountain
get it.
bikes.
Totally get
Yeah.
it. Such a like letting the air out of the bag, right? Like it
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. We
And now
needed that.
Leadville's canceled too. So
We're not going to do anything this year.
yeah, well, you can come and do some of those epic bike rides that I have.
I think I'm going to like, when are you? It's June 5th.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away to do the Colorado Monument ride, which by the way was in the movie American Flyers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
My
that
brother
scene.
loves that movie.
And then we're going to do the Copper Triangle the
I don't
last
know that
weekend.
one.
And so you ride from Copper Mountain up to Leadville
Uh-huh.
over that pass. And then you ride from Leadville to Vail. And then from Vail to Copper Mountain over Vail Pass. It's 76 miles. So it's a little bit longer than triple bypass, but it's 3 passes also.
I could be into something like that. Like I'm definitely going to need some going out and like doing stuff. And like I'm a fan of like the events. I mean, obviously I want to
Uh-huh.
win and I'm going to try to win. And in
Yeah.
my mind, like every race that I've ever lost, which is most of them when it comes to bicycles, uh, you could not have told me that I was not going to win. Every
Yeah.
race, I think I'm going to win.
Yeah. Well,
And to this day, I still
that's a
think I'm
good
going to, yeah,
that's a good outlook.
yeah.
Positive thinking.
25 years later, I'm going to win.
I
Yeah.
do that too. Some races I do win and some I don't win it. I'm not even close.
I've never won a road bike race. I think the best I've ever done in road was like I don't know, it was like maybe like 2011 at the Masters State Championship road race. I got
Yeah.
third, and then the
Nice.
crit I got third, but I
Yeah.
should have won the crit. I just jumped too soon. I had it, and then I went around the corner, and two people just got me right at the end. It was like
Oh shoot.
over here. Where was it? They used to run them down, not in Niwot, but I can't remember. Some little neighborhood like before you get
Yeah.
to Longmont.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Between Boulder and Longmont there.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and then they did the Niwot crits. Those were good.
Hmm.
Um, but I figured like top three was
Yeah.
my jam with road, and then mountain bikes. I won maybe 5 races in sport, and then once I got up into expert, it was
Those
tough.
guys are fast here.
Yeah, it was
They're
tough.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they broke me off, and I think it had something to do with my aerobic endurance and anaerobic power, because at that point in time, like I'd only been riding for like, maybe 3 or 4 years, and everybody else was like 8. They were
Yeah. Sure.
10, 15 of them were about to go pro. So I had to race with those same people. They tore
Yeah.
my legs up.
Be fun to see you race though now, fixing all these things all this work that you've done, fixing your nutrition and getting really like good education about periodization and how to train properly and using power. Be interesting to see how you do now.
Yeah, I want to be like, I'm
Next year,
just,
bro.
oh,
Next year.
it's so far away.
I
And then
know.
I think about like all the mornings I woke up and just sat there and just grinded it out. Like, man, I was doing like 2-hour trainer workouts before driving to work, and it was what would be 90 minutes sweet spot. And I
Yeah.
did that like, I don't even know how many times a week. I did their trainer roads 3 months,
Uh-huh.
their sweet spot bill, and
Yeah.
it's rough. I've never had a coach torture me like that. I don't know a coach that would do that. I don't know anyone that would put anyone through what I did, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it.
That's
And
why
then
those programs are kind of dangerous
they
because they
are.
don't take into context how people are responding to them. there's no
Yeah.
there's no creative touch that a coach gives. It's just a program.
Yeah. And then a
So
coach would not knowingly prescribe that kind of workout to someone with a family.
no, well, yeah, they don't take any of those other
Yeah.
things into context. Family, work time, you know, all the other priorities we got in life.
I straight
So
went knucklehead, and then their VO2 and uh zone 4 stuff, I am not shitting you. They would have me doing 40 something minutes of VO2 workouts.
I'm not surprised by that. I mean, that's kind of the way you got to train as a cyclist. We don't
It
train
was
that way
so,
as triathletes, but cyclists you have to because you have to be able
yeah,
to hit a breakaway at any point.
that high output stuff, because it's like
Hmm.
a lot of the workouts were 110 to 120% of
Yeah.
FTP. And then they said, you should be able to do VO2 for at least 6 minutes. I think you should be able to ride at VO2. So you know what they do? They
7
put you
minutes.
five,
I know, right?
five, 5 by 6,
You got the
five.
wastebasket right there, so in case you have to
Yeah,
throw up.
yeah. I actually once I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
but
I've I've puked in a few FTP tests too. It's not fun.
yeah, it definitely. But I needed to put myself in there as much for the mental
Hmm.
as the physical, because I
Yeah.
had to become mentally tough and push myself to a
Yeah, for
new
sure.
to a new state. So,
Yeah, yeah. So it's worth doing. You just get to do it again this winter.
oh yeah, I got to do it. I know what to do.
Yeah. You
But
learn from it.
I just wonder how to scale, because I did the expert sweet spot base plan that they had. I wonder
Uh-huh.
how in the hell I would scale that up, because they don't have anything past expert. Would I even want to scale that up? Man,
Well, you want
I was doing like freaking like 4 by 20 at the top of sweet spot on that trainer. You
yeah.
talking about like grinding your legs to a freaking nub.
Yeah, I know. It's hard is when like you could do it all over again and then measure your performances in each of those buckets, compare year to year. But we also age. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, that definitely is a factor. I know at 49 I'm not the athlete I was at 45, but it's
But I
just
guess like you
reality.
just bump your FTP up and then you do it at a higher.
Yeah, you could do that. A couple points
Yeah.
make a huge difference. I don't know about you, but I moved mine 5 points up this week, and
Oh,
I can
nice.
I can feel it big. Yeah, in
Yeah, I'm
those.
still sitting at like whatever, like 227. I never
Uh-huh.
took another FTP test.
Well, just move it up to 230 and see how you do.
I did do that sporadically just because I'm like, this workout was too easy. And I'll bump it up. And then, like, every so often, I would test, what I thought against what my result was.
Uh-huh.
And I was
Just go
always
back and
right.
look at your heart rate data in the workout. Like if you know that you normally run at FTP up at 170, but you're sitting at 165, that's a good indicator that maybe your FTP's gone up a little bit
I think it has because
without having to test.
I'm running, like outside at least, I'll run like 220s, for as long as I can. Like I'll go down, I guess it's Chambers, and then I'll take a right and then go up Hess and
Uh-huh.
then run it all the way down Castle Pines at around 220. And I'll take that first right from Ridgegate onto Chambers and then
Yeah.
I'll just park it at 220 for as long as I can and then try to like bump up to like 230s up Hess.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at my heart rate and then I might see a max of like 162.
Okay. Yeah. So, you can just move the line up just a little bit and see how you do. As long as you're recovering, pay attention to that too, your recovery intervals. You don't want to see, a lot of people look at their heart rate with cardiac drift being at the points of the interval, right? The high
Mhm.
point. Look at those low points too. Those valleys should all match.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, but I don't
Because
even,
you shouldn't see an upward trend in your recovery valleys, because that tells you you're getting cardiac drift, even if you
yeah.
can't get higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I know what yeah. So you're saying, but like during the effort, you would get cardiac drift, but in your recovery,
You should recover back down.
you
So
should go
let's say,
down.
right. So let's say you had four intervals. We'll just say 4 4-minute intervals at 100% of FTP. And your heart rate's going to hit 170 or higher, right? All of those you should hit 170 or higher. But what you want to pay attention to is your 2 minutes off. Where is your heart rate? So if you know that your zone 1 heart rate is supposed to be down at, let's say, 130, so interval 1, yeah, that recovery is at 130. Interval 2, that recovery is at 130. All of a sudden at interval 3, you're not recovering anymore and it's
Oh,
now at 140.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
cardiac drift right there.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I did not think about it in that light, like as far as like recovery, because each time your recovery, your resting, your downtime is higher and
Yeah.
higher and
Yeah.
higher because the cardiac drift in your effort
Hmm.
is also higher. So when you
Yeah.
come into your
Well,
recovery time, you're recovering from 170 instead of like, 155.
yeah, right. So, because sometimes we ride so high that we can't get our heart rate any higher. We're
Yeah.
so close to threshold that it's predictably always going to be at threshold. But you can tell if you're pushing yourself too hard because your recovery intervals don't match anymore. That's when you should quit.
Throw the
That
towel in. Done.
Well, no, but just say, okay, I'm backing off. I'm going to go back down to zone 2. Today, my heart has had enough.
Yeah, I think like, man, like I'm kind of having trouble even with what I'm even going to do like the rest of the year. Like I'm going to train and do some, zone 4 and sweet spot.
Well, you can come and ride Colorado Monument and put my challenge my fiance, because nobody else can keep up with him.
I don't know. He sounds like a beast. Didn't you say he was like 6'7" and
No.
pushes out like 450 watts or something?
He's got a huge FTP for his size.
Yeah.
I think he weighs about 165, and he's 5'8", but I want to say his FTP is at like 250.
Yeah, my FTP is not 250. It's at best. I'm guessing I'm going to do my test soon, but I'm going to do like a few interval sessions on the trainer and then go in and do the ramp test again.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I'm at 232.
Well, you might be, and that's a good FTP. I mean, really, think about it. It's watts per kilo, right?
Yeah, I think this is what I have noticed, and then I agree with a lot of people. All right, so I'll go ride with this dude. He's 180 something pounds, and then his endurance ride is 230 watts for 3 hours. And then I go do a 75-mile ride with him, and then I'm running like 180s, 190, and then at 2.5, 3 hours, he goes, "Man, I'm not trying to be rude, but you dropped 50 watts." And I'm like, I don't think that I dropped 50 watts, because if I was doing 50 watts more than I'm doing right now, I'd be doing 210 watts. And I can tell you this, I'm not going to do 210 watts for 50 miles.
Right.
I don't think that I will be able to. And then we started talking about watts per kilo, and he's like, "You're letting this weight thing get to you." I'm like, let's think about it.
No.
You're doing 230 at 180 pounds. I'm doing 230 at 119 pounds.
Right. Your
My
watts per kilo are way higher than his.
Yeah, which I'm kicking out energy like you wouldn't believe. Who do you think is going to run out of energy first? The guy putting out more watts per kilo, or the guy putting out less?
The guy putting out more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have this argument. I haven't ridden with him since, but
I know.
And then I think on the road, watts per kilo racing is kind of like not a thing. It's a big.
Well, it depends, right? On a linear, like a completely flat course,
watts per kilo is not a thing.
No.
On a flat course.
No, but watts per kilo going up
is a thing.
Like you kicked that guy's butt, right?
Yeah.
Right. But coming down, now he's got you.
He dropped me on the downhills.
I know.
And he was like, and then he's always like, "I just don't understand like why people go so slow on the downhill." I'm like, "It's because you go so fast."
He weighs a lot. He doesn't have to work very hard at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the guy's fast and he's a cool dude. I'm not trying to take anything from him.
Sure.
His FTP, he's like, I think it's like up close to 400 watts. He's a really good cat 2, cat 1, so my FTP is 230. I weigh 119 pounds. What do you think I can do with this? There's just nothing I can do, but I call it surf. Like I just draft off of him.
Just go climb some mountains and kick his butt.
Well, yeah, but also the problem is he does 5 watts per kilo. So he's got me covered there too.
Yeah, sure. I know, but I'm just saying it's funny because people, I don't know, I feel like people don't understand physics because it's not just so simple.
And he's a math guy too. I'm like, think about it. But like if we like where I will stand, and I will say this 100%, watts per kilo racing, mountain biking is a thing. It is a thing. 10, 11, 12% grade.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to just ride at 195 to 205 watts and then probably run off and leave the dude.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's about bedtime, huh?
Yeah.
This is going to be a long one. Yeah.
No. Told you we'd fill it.
Oh yeah. I did say 30 minutes, right?
I think you said 45, but what are we at now? Almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a good one. It was a good
Yeah.
talk. And yeah, I'll get out and I'll start riding in the morning, and then
Yeah,
we'll
let's
talk
test that.
about, what do you call it? Chronotypes or chronotypes where,
Chronotypes?
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
morning people versus
Yeah.
nighttime people, and try to figure
Uh-huh.
out, what types are better suited for,
Right.
what
Because you
time of day
want
to
to
work out.
you want to train based on your own circadian rhythm, and your diet helps run that. So,
I think that'd be a good talk.
diet and sleep.
Circadian rhythm.
Sure. Circadian rhythm, chronotype, diet, how it interfaces with exercise and when you should exercise. Let's do it.
All right. And then now we gotta get some sleep.
All right.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for the talk. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.